Hello, welcome back to my witch obsession, and in today's video we will be talking about Venus in Pisces for every sign. So this will be your horoscope. As always, timestamps are in the description box below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on the way down there. And yeah, that's it. See you at your reading. I love you. Okay, so we're starting out with Sagittarius rising. So hello, Sagittarius. So for you, Venus is going to be moving through your fourth house. And I have a feeling that you'll really like this transit, Sag, because it's going to trine Jupiter, and the trine will exact around February 22nd. Venus will be in Pisces from February 10th until March 6th. So I definitely think that this Pisces season will be a little bit interesting because on one hand, Venus moving through your fourth house incentivizes me to think that a lot of you will be doing some home redecorating, and Pisces, like Neptune, makes me think that there could also be something going on with like water, incorporating like this low-key makes me think like this is a good time to take baths at home, or this is like a really good time to take longer showers. I almost wonder if some of y'all building a pool. But anyhow, this could also be something revolving around your health and well-being. I think that so because Venus rules your sixth house and it's in Pisces, it makes me think of like smoothies, or it makes me think of like liquefying things, or finding more intuitive ways to approach your health and well-being. And this could be related to your family. And a woman could be staying with you, or there could be like a major emphasis on like receiving services from a woman. So it could be that like you get like a female nurse, or like a female dog sitter, or like a house sitter or something like that. But this could also be that you are receiving consultations from someone who is a woman, and this could even be like a family member coming to stay with you, living with you, and maybe like helping out or something like that. It kind of makes me think of when people have a kid and then their parents come over to like nanny, and like it's like you're like she's like 80 years old, and it's very helpful, because it's like, oh, like, and she's free. Venus also rules your 11th house, so this could also be like a lot of Sag risings might be feeling more cozy around this time, so it kind of makes me think that a lot of you could be wanting to stay in more, maybe host like dinner parties, get-togethers, or like little group events with your friends in your home or in their home, so like rendezvous like that. And I want to say that this is unpredictable because we will see multiple squares to Uranus throughout the rest of February as planets move into Pisces. And we will also see Mercury retrograde in Pisces. It will start on the 26th, and then Mercury will actually come into a conjunction with Venus around the 28th. So with the squares to Uranus, it makes me think that a lot of you could be coming up with new innovative health solutions, and it could be related to like technology and innovation, or a lot of you could just be absorbing new knowledge and wanting to experiment more with your well-being. I know that a lot of Sag risings have been experimenting and going back and forth with their diet, their health, like on a day-to-day basis for a while now. And this could also be like shakeups or random changes with like a work situation, especially as it relates to a living situation. So it could be that a lot of you are looking for like a stay-at-home job, and maybe it's related to children, or it could just be that a lot of you are also trying to book services that will allow you to like be at home, so it kind of makes me think of like, oh, like instead of doing this and going there, why don't I invite them into my home so that we can do consultations there. It makes me think like, like nail techs, maybe like you're renting out, like I don't know how that works, but like it makes me think like, oh, like I'm renting out an office or something right now. I just realized I saw this is like the reflection for the hallway, and I don't like this. Anyways, so it kind of makes me think like, oh, instead of like them coming, like I'm going over to them, like why don't they start coming to me, so like something of that nature, where if you do offer a service or own a business or run something like that, you could be doing a lot of shifts and changes when it comes to the financing aspect of it, when it comes to the actual location, the platforms that you're posting it on, or maybe even for some of you the content that you are posting, because I know a lot of Sag risings have been thinking about this. On the other hand, though, this could also just, like I said, be related to your health. So it kind of makes me think like the sixth house is also where you go in order to do these things. So maybe some of you are wanting to go to a gym. Maybe some of you are trying to find more creative, more other ethical ways to exercise and do things. And this could also be like random shifts in your food and your diet, and maybe even your cravings. But this could just be a lot of changes to your well-being and like your wellness lifestyle, and finding new innovative ways for you to kind of keep up with it and for you to keep track of stuff. So I think that that's going to be very exciting for you, especially with the conjunction of Mercury at the end of the month. I think that it will involve like meeting somebody, or it will be like a very nice conversation with another person about something of that nature. And overall, this is just like a very emotional transit for you, Sagittarius. So it could be that a lot of you are literally just going to therapy, or a lot of you are just finding ways to vent your feelings out too. I think that it will bring a lot of money to you all too. Like maybe there will be like really good commission around this time. Maybe there will be something about like tax benefits, or excuse me, there could even be something about like refinancing a home, or like investing money into your home, or like services into your home. So like maybe some of you are like trying to get like a contractor or something in order to improve like a home situation. And Venus in Pisces in the fourth is also just like a very nostalgic, very like reminiscent energy. And so a lot of you could just be in this mood of like wanting to keep like trinkets, knickknacks, or like little mementos and whatnot. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you start digging up that. And because it's the past, a lot of you could be reconnecting with somebody. Maybe this could be somebody from your past, or like your childhood and like your upbringing. But this could also just be that a lot of you are getting into something in the past. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, like there was this time in my life where I was doing something like this and I kind of want to get back into it, whatever that might be, whether it be like a health practice, whether it be like a way of living. Doesn't really matter. My point is that I think that a lot of Sag risings will be feeling very nostalgic around this time, and it could be related to your mom, and a lot of you could be uncovering mysteries and secrets and learning more about your mother. Or it could be that your relationship with your mother and your family is directly manifesting in your own interpersonal relationships, and this is an opportunity for you to sort of heal that and work through it, or address these feelings. And it could be that with the squares to Uranus and Taurus between other planets, it's like shaking up like your nervous system and like your sense of healing, and realizing that the wellness that you're trying to do is also a little bit more like somatic, is that the right word to use, or more related to your actual body instead of like like your digestive system. Like a lot of you might be paying attention to other systems in your body in order to heal yourself and to feel a lot more regulated, and this could just be like inadvertently improving other aspects of your life. So definitely keep an eye out for that, Sagittarius. I think that because Venus will be squaring your ascendant, like this will be like a very obvious transit for you, especially because Saturn, and I'll make a video on this, Saturn moving into Aries, and then we're seeing all these trines and squares Uranus. Like I think that this will be a time where a lot of you are finding other ways to enjoy yourself, finding other ways to seek out pleasure. And it seems like Aquarius season was like a huge precursor to this. Like I said this in the last, like Venus transit video, where a lot of you are probably, like getting back on track with like communication, talking to people, like your car, moving about your day-to-day life. And now Venus is in Pisces, so it's going to urge you to slow down and go about your routine a lot more intuitively, since you have probably laid out some sort of itinerary for what you want your routines to look like in the future. Let's pull you a card. Let me do a thumbnail real quick. I only trust you guys. That's cute. Okay, we're good. For you, we have the Page of Wands. I think that this is very conducive to what I was saying, because Page of Wands, it makes me think of like news, opportunity, curiosity. So a lot of you could be receiving news from other people. I totally wouldn't be surprised, because Venus rules your 11th house and Venus is in the 4th. So it kind of makes me think of like receiving news from old friends, or people who you used to be in contact with, or maybe getting in touch with like a dream or a goal, or like a vision that you had, especially when it comes to like a living situation. So like getting back on track with what you want your home and your environment to look like. And a lot of you could be embracing this Page of Wands energy, being very curious and seeing where you can venture outside, since Pisces is just for like, oh, like go where the tide takes me, and like the 4th house is your roots and your attachments. So it's like being go with the flow in that aspect of your life, and seeing where it takes you to find a new meaning to your home and where you feel comfortable. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Sagittarius. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. So now we have Aries rising. So hello, Aries rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for Venus in Pisces. Venus will be in Pisces from February 10th until March 6th. And I think that you will have a very interesting Venus in Pisces transit for you because Venus is very happy in Pisces and she will be moving through your 12th house, and Venus rules your 7th house and your 2nd house. Can we just be honest? Like, can we just be real? Like, the 12th house is not cute, and your 7th house ruler being there, it makes me think that a lot of you will find a lot of sanctuary and a lot of peace in letting go. And I think that because Venus rules your 2nd house, this feels like a huge opportunity for Aries risings to find a lot of comfort, self-worth, and solace in. What was that? Did you hear that? I think it could be related to like isolation, you know, like prayer, being by yourself, and it might just be like your bedroom. So like a lot of you could just be investing money in your bedroom. So buying new sheets, pillows, and just making your bedroom a little bit more of a comfortable place. But this could also be that maybe some of you are feeling a little bit disconnected and very wary and like where you go, and so feeling like you're kind of floating by. And this could definitely be interlinked with like your interpersonal relationships and your romantic ones, where maybe a lot of you are feeling disconnected. And I'm just saying, like, the 12th house does represent ending, so I don't think that it will be like you literally go through a breakup or, you know, like you decide to leave somebody in your life. That could be the case for some of you if that's what you're anticipating. But I think that because Venus will cross over the North Node as well, it will be a moment where you are thrusted forward and you are away from another relationship. You know what kind of makes me think of? This is kind of messy, but it makes me think of when you break up with somebody and then to get over them, like the final step is like getting with somebody else. Like that's what it makes me think of. It doesn't have to be like literally that, but it's just that sense of finding something else that finds you, that brings you value and peace, and it will allow you to move away from something that you thought was, you know, important to you, and it probably was, but now it's time to get over that and move forward. Especially because throughout this month we will, or throughout this transit, we will see multiple squares to Uranus from planets as they are moving out of Pisces or out of Aquarius and moving into Pisces. And on their way out of Aquarius, they're all going to square Uranus and Taurus in your 2nd house, and your Taurus is ruled by Venus. So it makes me think that a lot of you will be going through a lot of changes with like social circles, your friend groups. You know, a lot of you could be realizing that people are being especially unpredictable around this time. And it might be that a lot of you are finding newfound importance in certain dreams and aspects of your life that maybe you didn't think were that important. It's just like the people that you're around, you're suddenly going to start realizing that there are other things in your life that you want to pour your energy into. And I think that it will begin with you pulling away, and Venus in Pisces was just kind of like, it literally, like Venus in the 12th house makes you think of like being in your room, like doing self-care. It kind of, you know, like that's like a more modern manifestation, but like back in the day, it's giving like monk, you know, like you on top of the Himalayas and you just being by yourself. And especially with the 12th house dealing with foreign lands, a lot of you could be like feeling called to, or, you know, like meeting up with people or dealing with people moving to foreign lands. So this could be as simple as like a partner or somebody is going to some other country that you've never been to as like a vacation or something. But it could also be that a lot of you are traveling somewhere like that as well, and then you are meeting another person. So that could be something that's going on for a lot of you. And I also want to say that Venus will come into a trine with Jupiter and come into a conjunction with Mercury at the end of the month. So like between the 22nd and like the 28th, that will probably be a really big hotspot for when you start to see like the good things about this transit. Because on the 28th, Venus will come into a conjunction with Mercury that has just recently stationed retrograde, and Venus will also trine Jupiter on the 22nd. And so I think that this will be a nice time. Mind you, Mars is going to square Uranus, so it kind of gives me like a problem comes up, or like a lot of you are changing something up with like a financial situation, and maybe there's something going on with like your money as well, and then you're like changing that up, and then like it relates to like your relationships, like your health, the services that you are providing, and the work that you are seeking out. So it's kind of like there's like a change in what you put value into it and like your financial situation, and it causes you to pivot and reorganize other aspects of your life to accommodate that. So that's what that makes me think of. And I definitely think that Mercury-Venus conjunction at the very end of the month will be very, very important, because I just think that because Mercury rules your 6th and your 3rd house, this will be like rearranging something. So it's like if you're wanting to be alone, if you're wanting your own space, or if you're wanting to spend more time by yourself or to practice more wellness in your life, it begins with pulling away a little bit, or it begins with rearranging something with your interpersonal connections, especially if you feel like there are people around you that are relying around you too much. But I think that Venus in the 12th house, basically Aries, will just be an opportunity for a lot of you to shed things in your life and to let go of something in order for you to find a lot more peace and harmony and balance in your connections and your sense of self-worth, especially if you have been feeling like you use other people, or you project like your like sense of like insecurity and whatnot onto others. I think that this will just be like a chance for a lot of you to get back in tune with yourself and finding out who you are. But in order to do that, it begins with finding out with who you are not, especially with Saturn moving into your first house, like literally like a few days after Venus enters Pisces. So it's kind of like, where have you been sacrificing yourself in relationships and compromising and disrespecting your self-worth? And now it's time to get more serious about who you are and what you like and what you identify with. And this could be related to your physical body as well, especially if you carry like burdens with like your physical appearance and your body that have been projected onto you by family members. Card for Aries. Let's see what comes out for you. For you, we have the Five of Cups. I definitely think that this is very relevant. Like, this card is about disappointment, emotional pain, and I want to say that it's about 2 cups being upright and 3 cups being spilled. But this woman, she makes me think like, you know, like she's on a waterfall. So, okay, this makes me think of like in movies where, or like TV shows, when characters go over a waterfall and then they end up at the other, you know, like they end up at the bottom and they're like, I don't know where I am, you know, and it's kind of that sense of like restarting, doing things over again. So I think that a lot of you might go through some sort of like emotional disappointment or finally grieve something. It doesn't even feel like a lot of you are actually going through a loss process already. I think that with the transits that are going on, a lot of you have probably already gone through some sense of loss, and this will just be an opportunity for you to actually feel and grieve and move forward and lay something to rest so that you can incorporate more peace and harmony into your life. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Aries. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. So now we're at Taurus rising. So hello, Taurus rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for Venus in Pisces, and Venus will be in Pisces from February 10th until March 6th. And this is really important for you because this is your chart ruler. And interestingly enough, I think that you'll really like this transit, Taurus. Venus moving through the 11th house. Girl, Venus in the 11th is so tea. Especially in Pisces, it might mean that a lot of you are getting into like groups of people or just meeting people who are into the same things as you in terms of like wellness, health, you know, because Venus also rules your 6th house. So it's like a lot of you could be, it kind of just immediately makes me think of like Pilates, but it also just makes me think that a lot of you could be getting out and about, especially because you're going to have a Mercury retrograde in this house. And Mercury rules your 5th house. So this is like the house where you have fun and how you enjoy yourself. And like the 5th house is ruled by Virgo. So it's like Taurus, like you naturally find a lot of fun and enjoyment in doing boring stuff that other people wouldn't find enjoyment in. You know, you're like, man, like I just love going to the grocery store and just like living my life, you know, and like picking up those vegetables. So it's like, obviously it doesn't have to be that exact manifestation, but it's more of like a metaphor for a lot of you maybe getting out there more and expanding your horizons and meeting people who feel comfortable with you and people who, you know, are interested in the things that you're interested in. Especially because the ruler, Jupiter, is in your 3rd house, and, you know, these planets will, or is it your 3rd house? Yeah, it's your 3rd house, and they will trine each other. So Venus and Jupiter will come into a trine around the 22nd of February. So, and then a few days later on the 28th, Mercury and Venus will come into conjunction, and Mars will also be in a square with Uranus. And I'll talk about Uranus in a moment here because that's also important. Excuse me, but I just think that whatever is going on here, it's related to your dreams as well and your social circles. Excuse me again. And when I say dreams, I mean like, you know, what you're looking forward to. And with Pisces and like Jupiter and the 3rd, like low-key, some of y'all just might be saving up for a new car, or maybe some of you might be looking to rearrange your life. You know, maybe some of you are trying to have aspirations for like social media, or maybe trying to set more intentions to explore your local area more. This could also be related to siblings in some way. And maybe for some of you, a select few of you, there could be a desire to connect more with the dreams and like the visions of your mother and her side of the families with that trine of Jupiter and Cancer. So it's like, you know, like Cancer energy bodes really well for you, Taurus, because, you know, like the moon really loves being in Taurus. So I just think that this might be a time where a lot of you are finding like a strong support network. So it's like if you're like recovering from something and wanting to look for, you know, like a support group or like people to be with, I think that this is like a very good transit to do something like that. Definitely attend like local events or like getaway trips. Pisces makes me think of like foreign land, so this might be like a very, very nice time for you to go somewhere where you've never been before in order to meet people who may align with you a lot. And I also want to say that Uranus and Taurus is very important, especially for you because, you know, Taurus, like you are Taurus rising, but also because, you know, that's a Venus ruled sign, and we're going to see multiple squares to Uranus throughout the course of Venus and Pisces. Like I think around the 16th, the Sun will square Uranus, on the 27th, the Mars will be squaring Uranus. So just throughout the month. And I think that for a lot of you, this is like your physical appearance. So a lot of y'all could be feeling very spontaneous with how you look. Be careful. Be careful. But I also think that for a good majority of you as well, this could definitely be related to your career and your work. So a lot of you could be really feeling very spontaneous when it comes to your work. And maybe because Venus rules your 6th and Venus is ruling like, you know, Taurus, the first house, it makes me think that a lot of you could be innovating more with like technology, how your clients find you and book you. This could also be related to the type of work you're doing. This might be a time where a lot of you are offering new services if you own a business, but this could also be a time where a lot of you are wanting to branch out, open up side hustles, or finding new ways to make money and, you know, deal with money and manage your money and financing things. And this could also be related to the people that you meet. So it might not even be that these things transpire on their own, which they very much could, but I think that the people that you're around will have like some sort of like a cause and effect on it, in the sense that being around certain people might incentivize you to do something differently with like your wellness, your work, and your career and your craft. Or it could be that you are changing this aspect of your life and therefore it urges you to change the people that you are around and the brackets that you are a part of. So these are all intrinsically related, so I think that it will be very relevant. But overall, Venus in the 11th and Pisces just brings very random opportunities, and especially with the conjunction of Mercury at the 28th, it makes me think that because Mercury also rules your 2nd house, it could be something about like investments and your money, and a lot of you could be opening up investments for like what you want to put your money into. So it's like, I know that sounds like a little bit vague, but I think that, you know, I think it's related to like a getaway trip or like, you know, something about like your spirituality and wellness. It makes me think of like, you know, like when like people host like trips to like Bali or like Cancun and stuff, like it makes me think of like investing in something like that, you know, like traveling, going somewhere that you have never been before, or investing in ways to improve your day-to-day life when it comes to technology, your social networks, and, you know, your business. And if that's not the case, I also just think that a lot of you could be reframing the way that you communicate and also learning from other people. Venus in the 11th is like very, very concerned of things like women's rights. It's very concerned with like other people's experiences, and with Pisces, like spiritual experiences. So a lot of you could especially be looking for people who can guide you through what they have gone through, or looking to guide others and just like connect with others based on like emotional experiences and getting more in tune with that part of your life, and setting more goals for being more intentional in some way, shape, or form when it comes to any of the aforementioned themes, you know, like your work, your friendships, and whatnot. Anyways, let's pull a card for you. Card for Taurus. Yeah, for you, we have the Queen of Wands. I could definitely see that. Venus moving through the 11th house could definitely be like an emphasis on a female friend. It could be a work friend or just someone who really helps you. So like this could just be like as simple as like your hairdresser, or it could be as more complex as like you go somewhere and have a fated encounter. So there could definitely be an emphasis on a woman in your life and your relationship with her. But this could also be you being the Queen of Wands, being more brazen, being more excited, being more, you know, I want to do stuff that I want to do, and sort of like leading something, starting something, being more influential. Like that's Venus in 11 too. So it's like people want to be around you, people want to absorb your energy, people are, you know, like drawn to you, or like, you know, like healed by you. So like Pisces, like setting intentions for healing and wellness, and, you know, bringing some sort of selflessness to the table. So a lot of you could be dealing with something like that. But overall, I just think that Taurus, a lot of you will be embracing this really nice energy by being a little bit more mystical, a bit more magical, and being absorbed in a more holistic experience, as opposed to being so concerned with like the itty bitty details. And then finding pleasure in the itty bitty details, because you'll be seeing what these individual strokes and what the big picture it's all adding up to, if that makes sense. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Taurus. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. Okay, so now we're at Gemini rising. So hello, Gemini. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for Venus in Pisces. And for you, or first of all, Venus will be in Pisces from February 10th until March 6th, and Venus will be moving through your 10th house. And a lot of you could be getting exposure. Venus rules your 5th house as well as your 12th house. And let me tell you, okay, this isn't a warning, but I am saying Venus moving through the 10th house and being your 5th house ruler, this could either be a time where a lot of you are getting into like creative hobbies, you know, enjoying yourself, and things that bring you pleasure and fun and enjoyment, incorporating that into your reputation, your status, you know. Are you being portrayed as like the party goer? Are you being portrayed as the person who starts the party, you know, like hosting events? I definitely think that for some of you, you could be hosting some sort of like a get together throughout this transit, or a lot of you could be attending a lot of parties and doing things that you enjoy. And like the 10th house is like your status. So it might be like people recognize you, or people are wanting to be around you, or people are reaching out to you. But the other side of it, because the 5th house rules in the 10th house, it just makes me think like, you know, like 5th house is like romantic affairs, flings, hookups. So like low key, if like you're like on that right now, where you're like meeting up with people, getting down and dirty, be careful who you tell it to, and be careful about who finds out about it and who you choose to do it, because it just might be that like your business gets aired out. So like you heard it here. So be careful, that's not something that you want. But overall, I definitely think that Venus moving through the 10th house, the 10th house makes me think of like authority figures. It makes me think of goals, makes me think of like wellness. And I think it's funny because literally I have met some of you Gemini risings, and with Pisces over your 10th house, a lot of you do go on to be like marine biologists, or work with like sea animals, or like oceanology. So stuff like that could definitely be relevant throughout this transit as well. And because Venus rules your 12th house, a lot of you could be traveling to somewhere that you have never been before for like a career purpose. It doesn't have to be related to the thing that I just mentioned. It makes me think of like, oh, like, you know, like your job's wanting you to fly out to like Turkey, and you're like, girl, I ain't never been to Turkey before, so I guess we doing this, you know? Anyhow, I also want to say that because Venus rules your 5th house, I think that a lot of you just might be having like a lot of fun with like career, and like your higher ups, like bosses might be very nice to you, or, you know, very charming with you. You know, it kind of makes me think your boss like buys you dinner, or like buys you a lunch, or it could be that you get like an extra pay, or like some favoritism in like a job situation. You know, Jupiter, the ruler, is in your 2nd house, so maybe some of you are definitely receiving some sort of like a benefit. Makes me think like a boss like brings you like donuts, or like gives you an extra day off, or gives you a nice little work bonus, you know, something like that could be going on. But this could also be that a lot of you are investing money in your career and your status, and wanting to work on something of like your goals and your dreams. You know, your imagination will definitely be running rampant around this time when it comes to what you're trying to accomplish on like a professional level. And I also want to say that Venus will come into a trine with Jupiter. So I definitely think that this will be like a time for you where a lot of you could build a lot of self-worth by accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish, or, you know, investing into your goals. So it might be a time where it's like you feel good about spending money on projects in order to portray on your work and, you know, like your work board or like meetings and whatnot. But it could also be like if you're doing something more creative, you know, like just spending money on your goals right now is like the name of the game. You know, I feel like there's like a million different ways I could describe it, but what it really boils down to is that there's obviously a goal that you have been getting very serious about, Gemini, and it brings you some sort of like sense of purpose and like, you know, like, oh, like this is why I'm here. And I think that this transit will very much like exaggerate that, but in a very positive way. But it might also bring up some blind spots, you know, when it comes to your sense of security, your sense of confidence. And, you know, if you're insecure about your career, if you're insecure in general in any aspect of your life, it could be stemming from a lack of like emotional nurturing, emotional encouragement, or your feelings and, you know, your sense of like, you know, being able to be alone. So all of these things will kind of be addressed throughout this transit, and it will probably be addressed through your interpersonal relationships. So it's like be careful of who you're receiving support from, because Jupiter does rule your 7th house. So I think that maybe for a lot of you, maybe you're like backing down and working on your marriage. Maybe a lot of you are backing away from your marriage and working on your career more, you know? It's just like there's clearly an imbalance in your life. And I think that Jupiter in your 2nd house has incentivized you to invest more in yourself and your goals and your desires. And there is someone else in your life where there is like people around you that are willing to assist you in that pursuit. So definitely use that to your advantage. And I think that this Venus in the 10th house will give you some more advantages or some more leeway in order for you to take, you know, these opportunities. If you take them, Gemini, you need to remember that. And I also want to say that we will see a lot of squares to Uranus, and Uranus is in your 12th house, and the squares will be from your 9th house. So like it definitely makes me think like, you know, more, because planets will be leaving Aquarius and then moving into Pisces. So on their way out, namely the Sun and Mars, the Sun on the 16th and then Mars on the 27th, all in February. So there's definitely something going on here when it comes to like long distance affairs, or something about like having to learn something new, do something that you have never done before, or delve into some sort of like knowledge or pathway that you've never delved into before as well. So it could be as simple as like, you know, you're wanting to do something with your career and it requires you to take courses and classes that you didn't even know existed. Or it could be that your career is, like I said, requiring you to be somewhere that you have never been before. So there could be like a lot of surprise traveling, or there could just be a lot of new intentions of wanting to, you know, like travel and explore more, experience more, do more, and changing up your philosophies and your beliefs on when it comes to what's important to you. And then we'll see Mercury retrograde in your 10th house. So a lot of you could be backtracking in your career in some way. It makes me think of like those people who are like, you know what, like I'm just done working, like I just want to travel the world and see what's going on, you know? And that doesn't have to be exactly the case for you, but what I'm trying to say here is that there's obviously something that you've been pouring a lot into, and a lot of you might either be taking a break, recuperating, or dialing back a little bit just to focus on another aspect of your life. And, you know, Mercury is your chart ruler, and it will come into conjunction with Venus at the end of the month. So I think that will bring you a lot of promising news when it comes to, oh, like what should I be focusing on right now? And, you know, how does it relate to my home, my family, my roots, and my emotional attachments? And how can I get over myself in order to pursue the things that I really do want? Anyways, let's see what card comes out for you. Oh, that one just fell out. Let's take it. Yeah, for you, we have the Knight of Wands. Very fiery energy, you know, very excited. And it just makes me think that a lot of you might be a little bit impulsive, or maybe there might be a Knight of Wands in your life and their impulsiveness and flamboyance is inspiring you to do what they're doing. But this could also be that there is something going on here of like you know, like not wanting to commit, feeling tied down, and just wanting to burst free and just have more fun and enjoy yourself and explore and try new things. So definitely embrace that energy, Gemini. Anyways, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. Okay, now moving on to Cancer rising. So hello, Cancer. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for Venus in Pisces, and Venus will be in Pisces from February 10th up until March 6th. So Venus in Pisces is going to be in your 9th house of travel, long distance, and also property affairs. specific note, if you are looking to invest in property or work, especially because Venus does rule your fourth house, like if this is a time where like a lot of you might be wanting to look for like a different home, but I also think that because Venus, sorry, I just blanked out. Venus rules your fourth house. Oh, because Mercury's gonna retrograde in your ninth house too, so it kind of makes me think that a lot of you might be moving really far away somewhere, or a lot of you might be embarking on some sort of like adventure. A lot of you could be getting flight tickets, a lot of you could be flying around this time. But I also want to say that if you do, try to get insurance or try to get like the things that, you know, like if a luggage gets damaged or lost, or like if there's issues with like a plane thing, you know, like with flying and traveling, look into the insurance stuff. I highly recommend it throughout this place because this is not like the best environment to like be starting new adventures. But for a lot of you, this could also just be that you've already gotten the tickets or you're just going somewhere that you've already been before. I also wanted to say, be wary of like water stuff, because I noticed that whenever there's like Piscean stuff in like the ninth house and like especially with the fourth house ruler, it could be a lot of you are running into like water damage or like water issues, like a pipe busting, you know, like weather stuff. Especially because throughout this transit, we will see multiple squares to Uranus as planets are leaving Pisces, or excuse me, leaving Aquarius and moving into Pisces. So it kind of gives me the vibe that like a lot of you are, you know, like in Taurus, a lot of you could be just going through a lot of shifts and changes of like the future and like what's in the foreseeable future. And it's because of like random changes to your living situation and your home and also your family. Venus in the ninth also just generally just really likes to explore. So like foreign foods and Pisces, it's like typically associated with things that we've never tried before, more or less have never heard of. So a lot of you could be, you know, venturing out, and especially with like Pisces in the ninth house, this is very conducive to Jupiter moving in your first house. And by the way, Venus and Jupiter will come into a trine of each other on the 22nd. Beautiful, beautiful energy. And then on the 28th, Venus will come into a conjunction of Mercury, who has stationed retrograde by that point on the 26th. So it definitely makes me think that a lot of you are exploring or expanding your horizons a lot more and just changing your philosophy and your outlook on life. I think that is the best way to put this transit, is that a lot of you are improving and changing your outlook on life, you know? Your fourth house ruler and your 11th house ruler moving into its exaltation in the ninth house means that there is just a lot of good fortune to be found of traveling, meeting people who you usually wouldn't meet with, being around new environments, and also changing your goals and your visions on education, schooling, and your emotional attachment. So reframing this aspect of your life will bring you a lot of nice things. And I just think that there will just be a lot of opportunities to travel, and maybe even for some of you, like take new classes or like learn a new language, or maybe there will be just like long car trips. And if you're looking to meditate, or if you're looking to just kind of, you know, like lay down and sit with feelings, listen to water sounds. Thank me later. Just thank me later. Just listen to like rain sounds. And if you're able to and it's not too cold, like go swimming or something. But this is just like a really nice transit, and especially because it's trining your ascendant, like opportunities to go about will happen to you very seamlessly. It kind of gives like, oh, like you're wanting to go travel, but you don't want to do it alone, and now you have a travel buddy, or like a friend invites you to go somewhere, or there's just like an experience with people whom are from different backgrounds than you, so you're able to like pivot and learn more. And especially with the squares to Uranus and Taurus in your 11th house from your 8th house, like these will be like very deep, visceral, shocking things that happen to you, you know? And maybe for some of you, it might kind of like stir up your financial situation, because a lot of you might have to like go back and forth with like, you know, organizing your money and how you like manage that aspect of your life, especially with all these new things coming up. So it might be at times a little bit stressful and unstable because you're having to go back and forth with this part of your life. But on the other hand, I also think that it will be very fun for you and very transformative, because it will open your eyes to the people that you can be around, especially if you feel like limited or hindered by the environment that you are in right now. And it could be because of your family, A lot of you could also just be wanting to add some feng shui to your home, like low-key, like the fourth house ruling the ninth house. It still makes me think of like getting like a Buddha or something in your home, you know, like if that's appropriate for you. So a lot of you could just be doing something like that as well. But I also think that this could be a time where a lot of you are like maybe indulging in long distance relationships. I feel like a lot of Cancer placements have been kind of like unsure about relationships, or this has been a aspect of your life where you've either not been able to pay attention to it too much, or you just haven't paid much mind to it, or you are just like checked out of it entirely. And I especially think that with Jupiter in your first house, a lot of you are not wanting to be held back right now. A lot of you are wanting to explore and break free from certain things, you know, like Jupiter also has ties with your sixth house. So like when it comes to like work, services, routine, and wellness, and a lot of you are wanting to establish parts of your life, you know, that is like intrinsic to you, you know, like a lot of you are just not like, you don't want to deal with a partner who restricts your day-to-day routine. You don't want a partner who takes away from your work. You don't want a partner who eats very bad and then causes you to eat very bad too, you know? And even if this isn't about a partner, because I know, you know, not everyone's interested in a relationship, but I am saying, you know, Cancer, a lot of you are being hyper aware about the people that you are around, and I think that this transit for you, especially if combined with like the Uranus squares, will be a moment where you're exploring further on what it means to be well, what it means to be healthy, and what it means to be securely attached to either a person, a home, a family, whatever that might be. This could also be that a lot of you are traveling to see family, or family members are traveling to come see you. So people might be flying in from all over the world to be with you all. So that could be very relevant for a lot of you. But I also think that a lot of Cancer risings as of late have just been wanting to be by themselves, be on that monk vibe, and doing things that bring you relaxation, like hiking, camping, and stuff like that. What is going on with Cancers? Yeah, for you, we have the Hierophant. So this definitely makes me think of like churches. It makes me think of like monasteries and places of like structure and foundation. But this could be something else. It could be like work. It could be school, you know, some place where there is a bigger system at play and there are values and traditions, cultures, and rules to be abided and respected. So this could definitely be a time where a lot of you are looking for a new job or looking for new places to where you can express yourself and learn new things. But this might also be a time where a lot of you are learning to honor tradition and structure in your life in the way that you define it. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Cancer. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. Okay, now we're at Leo rising. So hello, Leo rising. If you're seeing this, this would be your horoscope for Venus and Pisces. And Venus will be in Pisces from February 10th up until March 6th. And Venus is moving through your 8th house. And let's just be transparent, because I think that this will be, I don't think it'll be the cutest transit in the world. Venus don't like being in the 8th house, but she loves to be in Pisces. So it kind of makes me think that there is some sort of like negotiation or peace that will be brought to you in an aspect of your life that is very uncomfortable. And it could be related to your career, your work, your goals, your parents, but it could also be something about your communication, transportation, and maybe even your siblings, because these are the houses that Venus corresponds to in your chart. And definitely because Venus rules your 3rd house, a lot of you could be investing money in transportation or rearranging the money part in your life when it comes to like transportation. So it makes me think of like investing in a car, because you're always taking the Uber and you're like, girl, like this is starting to add up. Like I think I'm ready to take a plunge or something. Or you might be like, let me sell the car and let me start doing public transportation, you know? And even if that's not the case, I think that a lot of you are just somehow incorporating money and like spending it and transport like technology in your day-to-day life in order to bring more convenience and more swiftness, you know? But this could also be something about like phones. I just been noticing that a lot of Leo risings are wanting to play games, or like, you know, like download games on their phone, maybe getting back into video games, or finding some sort of pleasure in technology, social media, in this aspect of your life. But this could also be something about like communication, especially because the 8th house deals with like psychology. So a lot of you could be wanting to learn more about psychology, learn more about astrology, tarot, and like other occult things, or like divination. So a lot of you could be incorporating this into your life some way, shape, or form. And a lot of you might run into a lot of interesting synchronicities throughout this transit. So like definitely look out for those angel numbers, look out for those synchronicities, things lining up and whatnot. And with Venus moving into your 10th house, I think that a lot of you are deeply integrating this somehow into your career and your goals. You know, like especially if you do social media and whatnot, a lot of you could be changing where you post, a lot of you could be incorporating new things into your content. And if that not be the case, this could also be something about like different, you know, like financing. Maybe some of you are changing something about like your tax forms or something about like applications, or like, you know, like maybe some of you are getting, you know, pay stubs, and like this is you reorganizing this part of your job, especially if you have been dealing with like legal matters, because I think that the Aquarius stellium in disguise is like a huge precursor to what is going to be happening in Pisces and Aries season. And I kind of get the vibe that if you have been in like a legal battle when it comes to like money that's owed to you from like a work situation, or like something about like healthcare and whatnot, this will definitely be the transit where you get that sorted out. And it could be a woman coming in to help you, you know, like also the third house ruler in the eighth house definitely makes me think like if you're a woman, like you could be hitting up the gynecologist throughout this transit, or like that's like a very good time to look for a doctor. And you know, if you're not a woman, like this is still like a very good time to fill out applications. Good time to apply. Okay. Because Mercury is going to retrograde in this house on the 26th, and then Venus will also be trining Jupiter on the 22nd, this is like a very good period of time to go back on financial things. So it's like if you apply to a loan and you have like debt, or if there's like something that you're trying to pay off, like this is the transit where you want to set those intentions to make that happen. Not a good time. I'm not going to lie, Leo. I just don't want you buying a car. Like, from like the 18th forward, like don't be buying no cars, don't be buying new phones, new laptops. It just doesn't work. Especially in your 8th house, I've never seen anyone buy a car during a Mercury retrograde. Something doesn't, like something happens to the car, recalls, issues, getting it damaged, just not convenient things happening. Okay, I think that I would wait until after this retrograde, because I think after this retrograde with Saturn in your 9th house, there'll definitely be a little bit more of an incentive to be like, okay, like I can buy something now without the financial part of it being such a burden on me emotionally. And I also want to say that around the 28th, Venus will come into a conjunction with Mercury. So definitely it will be around this time where a lot of you get news about your financial thing. But this could also be very emotional, you know, with like Jupiter and Cancer. I've been noticing that a lot of Leo risings are going through a lot of transformations when it comes to their definition of their mother, being a parent, their home, their family, their roots, their emotional attachments. And this has been like a very transformative time for you, Leos. And I don't think a lot of you all are giving yourselves enough credit, or I don't think a lot of y'all are making it as public as you like. You, that's just like you're not really opening up about it. Like you're just a very secretive person, Leo. And I honestly think that for a lot of you, this will be a transit where a lot of you are doing immense emotional work. And a lot of you are probably like reading books, looking at websites, or Googling things, or just like hyper analyzing the situations and people around you in order to, you know, like bring about transformation and change and growth in your life. And I also think that this could definitely be related to like siblings or like immediate relatives for some of you. I think that this is a good time to keep a dream journal. This is a good time to write in a diary. And like if you're wanting to manifest things in your life, these things are very much conducive to making them happen. So keep that in mind. I also want to say that this might be a time where intimacy is explored, like low-key. Like if y'all are out here like hooking up and getting on them apps, like that's your business. So just like kind of be careful. But one thing I also wanted to mention was that we will see multiple planets leaving Aquarius, and as they do, they will come into a square of Uranus. And this is important because Uranus is in Taurus, which is the Venus ruled sign, and this is for you, your 10th house. So a lot of random changes of like your career, your reputation, your status, your name being in rooms that you are not in, things of like your status, like posting suddenly, maybe something about like technology, reformation, rebelling, posting your thoughts and ideas, you know, like speaking your truth, being honest, not wanting to conform to what others are saying, breaking free, speaking silence, speaking out against people, you know. and really reading people to filth. So definitely be wary of the things that you're saying, Leo, because a lot of you might start clocking people's tea out of nowhere. So it's like y'all just might be getting yourself into like a drama or something like that. So definitely be careful if that's something that you have been dealing with throughout the course of this year, or like throughout the course of like the past few months, honestly. But the nice thing is though, Saturn will finally be moving into your 9th house and out of your 8th house. So the emotional strain won't be as bad. It won't be as difficult. I just think that this Venus and Pisces transit for you will definitely be a time where you feel a little bit more ease, or where there is more aesthetic and more beauty found in the changes that you have gone through at a deeper level when it comes to the way that you perceive yourself, and possibly recovering from some sort of like devastating trauma in your life. What card for Leo risings? For you, we have the Six of Cups, which I definitely feel like is very conducive to all of this, because it kind of gives me the vibe that because Venus will trine Jupiter, a lot of you could be, you know, like remembering things, you know, like, oh, like just how mom used to do, you know, that's what that makes me think of. A lot of you could just be feeling more attached to your emotional self. And because in this card, like, you know, it's like kids playing outside of like the castle, it incentivizes, it like makes me believe that a lot of you are doing something outside of what you're growing up around. So it's like being away from your parents, being away from your family, being away from, you know, like things in your life that bring restriction, but also structure and foundation in your life. You know, finally being able to enjoy the things that you enjoy, finally being able to get in touch with a part of yourself that maybe you usually conceal and hide away from others. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Leo. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. Okay, now we have Virgo rising. So hello, Virgo rising. If you're seeing this, this will be a horoscope for Venus and Pisces, and Venus will be in Pisces from February 10th up until March 6th. I was so excited to do your horoscope because Venus is going to move into your 7th house. And let me just be clear, I'm not saying like, oh, you know, like Venus in the 7th house. You probably hear all the time, you know, like astrologers, they got bills to pay too, and I know they're like, you know, like feeding you like, oh, like you might get married, like you might find the love of your life, and you might meet your boo thing, you know. And I don't think that will necessarily be the case for a lot of you, but I do feel very confident in my conviction that when I say a lot of you could be getting into relationships around this time, or this might be a time where you find that people are being especially nice with you or especially courteous with you. You know, like Venus rules your 2nd house, so it makes me think like people buying you gifts, you know, it makes me think like the person in front of you in line at, you know, like the coffee drive-through, like pays for your drink, or it might be that like, you know, your friend gets you a nice gift that you've been wanting, or it might be that you are extending this to your friends and this is something that you're doing. So it's like a lot of you could be going to birthday parties, giving people gifts, spending money, and it's like pleasure will be found in that way in your relationships in one way or another. And Venus also has ties with your 9th house. So this could definitely be a time where like long distance relationships could be a theme, or a lot of you could be traveling, or a partner could be traveling, and this could be how you are seeing each other. And I do want to be clear that because Venus will also be coming to a trine with Jupiter around the 22nd, it could be related to your friends. Love could be found in like a social circle. So like low-key, like maybe your friends like confessing their undying love for you or something like that. But if you know, you know. If you don't, you know. But this could also be just a time where a lot of you are finding love and value and security within your social circles. And maybe even for some of you, like maybe you have a friend who lives really far away, and this is you like flying to go visit them and be with them. And maybe even for some of you, this is you going to a concert, a get together, or some sort of like an event with people who you care about, or just like, you know, something that you wanted to do. So it's like concert, you know. But I also want to say that Mercury will go into retrograde on the 26th, and Venus and Mercury will come into a conjunction on the 28th. And let me just be clear, Virgo, I think you have a good enough intuition to know what's coming, but low-key, if you have like ex-situationships, or if there's like unfinished business with certain people, this just might be the transit where you run into people again, or this just might be the transit where you're like airing out a lot of karmic baggage with people, because Saturn rules your 5th house of dating and like your happiness, and it's moving into your 8th house. So it's like restriction when it comes to that area of your life. So a lot of y'all might, you know, just be having to learn more boundaries and more, you know, like drawing hard lines in your interpersonal connections. But you will do so with the help of people around you who do care about you and who do value you and care. And like you're just gonna maybe start realizing that maybe like you are low-key kind of the problem, and you're kind of like, wait a second, let me do something about this, you know, so that they can be the problem again. But, you know, I also think that because we will be seeing squares to Uranus, and this is important because Uranus is in Taurus, which is a Venus-ruled sign, and this is in your 9th house, and we will be seeing planets move out of Aquarius, your 6th house, and then moving into Pisces. But right before it does so, they will be squaring Uranus, namely Mars, the 27th, and also the Sun on the 16th. And I want you to keep an eye on these two, because I definitely think that there's something going on here when it comes to like your health and your routine and also a work situation. And it might be very random, or it might be very like unexpected, you know, like system changes, like technology changes, you know, like work is suddenly requiring you to use like new equipment and stuff. This could be like, you know, like having to commute for work and whatnot. I know a lot of Virgo risings over the past few months have been like commuting for work, or it's just like your work is like a far drive, or there has just been like system changes with like the technology, or there's just like been a lot of weird change-ups and mix-ups with like your schedules and whatnot. I definitely think that this will be a time where that persists, but there will be people kind of coming in to assist you and help you and whatnot. But I also think that this could just be a time where a lot of you are wanting to like go on dates. So that could definitely be a situation as well. But I feel like this is heavily related to like friend groups and social circles, because when I say you're getting into a relationship, it doesn't just have to be romantic. It could be like a family member, your favorite cousin, it could be a friend or somebody whom you have some sort of common ground with. You might meet them through like a work situation, or you might bond over wellness and like routine and stuff, because you're gonna have a solar eclipse in your 6th house. And then that is kind of like, you know, like around that time we were going to see the Sun square Uranus. So, and then, you know, Venus is slowly coming into trine of Jupiter. So it makes me think like all these things are interlinked when it comes like, oh, like meeting someone at work. Or it might be that like a lot of you are developing new routines, and because of that, it requires you to meet new people. So, and this could also be something about like classes and school and whatnot. So maybe some of you are investing money to taking classes, or having to develop a new skill in order to up your self-worth or make more money in one shape or form. But yeah, on around the 27th, when you see Mars square Uranus, I really want you to keep an eye on that transit, because I think that it will kind of like low key just like blow the covers off. Like you might just kind of feel like you're going into Saturn and Aries, like starting it off with a bang. So just kind of keep an eye on that. And a lot of you might be signing stuff as well. Girl, if you're getting married, sign a prenup. Just do it. But I definitely think that this might be a time where a lot of you are like, you know, like just, I don't know, like Venus ruling your 2nd house and being in your 7th house, money and self-worth will definitely be relied on in relationships. And just be careful to not, you know, people please and whatnot. But there's really no other better way to say it. I just think that this transit for you will be a time where people are nice to you, and you're nice to other people as well. And generosity will develop opportunities, and, you know, it will give you leeways to change up your schedule. It will give you opportunities, change up your day-to-day life. And it might be that a lot of you are getting mixed up in your day-to-day life because of another person. Like other people will be the name of the game around this time. Just be careful, because a lot of you might be backtracking or getting a little bit sloppy in your interpersonal connections around this time, and you might find sometimes that you're a little bit overwhelmed of keeping up with it and your day-to-day life. So just be wary of that. The card for you that I get is the 9 of Cups. Wish fulfillment. I definitely think that a good thing is coming towards you, Virgo risings, throughout this transit. I just knew, like, I was so excited to your horoscope. I think a lot of you will have the best Venus transit. I think the only person that will have an even better Venus transit is Scorpio. But I'm just saying, like, Venus loves to be in the 7th house. Like, that's her jam. She loves being in Pisces. she's trining Jupiter, who is in your 11th house. Jupiter loves being in Cancer. Jupiter is pretty hype in the 11th house too. It's giving like opportunities. It's giving like going to parties, shaking hands with the right people. You know, it's giving like going out to events, being around people that you love, that make you feel safe, that make you feel comfortable and catered to. If you are willing to ask for that, if you are willing to give that, if you are willing to allow people to love you, you gonna feel it like no other. That's all I have for you, Virgo, before you start yelling at me. Thank you so much for watching. I love you. I hope the horoscope resonated. Bye. Okay, now we have Libra rising. So hello, Libra. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for Venus in Pisces. Venus will be in Pisces from February 10th up until March 6th. And I was thinking about a lot about this actually, because Venus is moving through your 6th house. Venus don't like being in the 6th house, but she does love being in Pisces. So, and this is also your chart ruler, who is also your 8th house ruler. So there's definitely something going on here where a lot of you might be going through some shifts and some changes with like your day-to-day life and routine, because I've been noticing that a lot of Libra risings are really tangled up in your work, you know, like a lot of you are wanting to change up your work, incorporate more stability, get more serious about your home and your family and your roots, bringing some sort of like predictability in the mundane. And I definitely think that this transit will be a time where a lot of you will be experimenting and exploring. I think that you should use this transit to like, you know, like change up your schedule and try new things, apply to new places, or, you know, like just experiment. Like that's really the best way to say it, because I can't imagine what a lot of you Libra risings might actually be doing for work and your career. But I can comfortably say that something about it has been a little bit unstable or like overly demanding when it comes to like the work-home life balance. And I think this transit for you is bringing in some sort of assistance or some sort of help, either to alleviate some of the stress or to outright allow you to try new things that will, you know, change your life. And when I say service, because the 6th house makes me think of like service, maybe some of you are hiring a new person, especially if you own a business, but this could also be hiring like a housekeeper or a maid or somebody who can help you with like your lifestyle. You know, if you're like very busy with work and like you don't have time, and like maybe you're hiring someone to cook food for you, and maybe it's like a babysitter, a dog sitter, a house sitter, whatever that might be. But definitely this might be a very good time to do something like that. And it might be a time where like your financial situation allows it. But I also think that this could be something about like maybe like a legal situation, or maybe something going on with like getting someone to help you with like the financial matter or something, you know, like. And what I mean by that is maybe like you're hiring someone to do your taxes, or maybe you're consulting someone to help you with like insurance or money matters and whatnot, because Venus rules your 8th house. Or it might be that you are providing some sort of service for other people in order to make more money from it. So it makes me think of opening up like a side hustle or something. But overall, Pisces and the 6th house makes me think that there's like big time to hydrate yourself. And I also wanted to say that because Venus rules your 8th house, maybe this is a time where a lot of you are getting more serious about like your hormones and also your reproductive organs and that part of your body. And Pisces is like fluid, so maybe a lot of you are doing so by like fluids and like drinking more water, drinking smoothies, or maybe even for some of you doing some sort of blood work, you know, and getting that part of your body sorted out, especially if there has been issues with like your digestive tract, especially because we will also see planets leave Aquarius and come into squares with Taurus. And like low-key makes me think, if you have been eating out a lot, or if you've been indulging and finding a lot of pleasure and eating a bunch of foods that maybe you usually wouldn't eat, or like things that are very like sweet or like out of the ordinary, a lot of you might be feeling very like exploratory, is that the word, or very, you know, like adventurous and wanting to try new stuff. So this might have been like changing up your diet, and it might have like caused some stress and strain. So definitely keep an eye out for that. I think that a lot of you might be getting back on track with something like that. And you know, Taurus is your 8th house, so, and then Aquarius is your 5th house, so maybe some of y'all were like impulsively spending too, or like having a lot of fun with like buying stuff. And I think that, you know, like this is a time where a lot of you might be like backtracking or finding people, you know, like self-soothing more. But overall, Libra, I don't think that any of this will necessarily be a bad thing. I just think that a lot of you all have just been like all work, no play, or a lot of you have been feeling tied down by like restrictions because of your family and your job. Like it kind of keeps boiling back down to the job. But even if that isn't the case, it's just something about like your routines and your regimes that are kind of stressing you out, because there's either a lack of structure or there is just like way too much rigidity. Like there is no in between here. And I feel like this transit for you will definitely be a time where a lot of you are bringing in more pleasure, more fun, and finding ways to enjoy yourself. Like this is like a great time to get massages, you know, getting a facial done, or, you know, going to a chiropractor, or just going to doctors and whatnot to help you to find ways to promote more wellness and more pleasure in your life. You know, a lot of you could just be healing, period, you know, like whether it be like your emotions and whatnot, or it be like your physical body. But I also want to say that Mercury will retrograde in this house, and the retrograde will start on the 26th, and then it will come into a conjunction of Venus around the 28th. So definitely, because Mercury rules your 12th house, a lot of blind spots when it comes to your day-to-day routine will be revealed to you in one way or another. And it might be related to the people that you're routinely seeing, or it might just be manifesting in your habits. So pay attention to what you're doing consistently. It will reveal a lot about your feelings and how you are doing at an emotional and even spiritual level. And you know, Mercury also rules your ninth house. So a lot of you could be like wanting to incorporate new philosophies, beliefs, and ideals into your day-to-day life as well. And maybe there could be something going on of like property affairs and like traveling and whatnot, especially with Saturn moving into your 7th house and Saturn ruling your 4th house. You know, there could be something going on here with like a back and forth of like lawyers, like, you know, property management, like I said, buying a home, and maybe even something about like establishing independence some way with your family and your living situation, especially if you do like live with another person and whatnot. Maybe a lot of you are wanting to get your own place, or a lot of you are wanting to establish a little bit more autonomy in your life in some way, shape, or form, away from the people that you're around. Especially if you do work a job where you're kind of having to rely on people a lot in some way, shape, or form. Like this might be like, man, like I want to back away and do my own thing and not be so worried about what other people are doing, you know? And it's like, it kind of doesn't feel like a choice for some of you at times. So a lot of you are just wanting to pull away, be a little bit more isolated. And I think that Venus in the 6th house could also just be like coworkers and people just being really nice to you, like coworkers bringing you food, paying for you, giving you rides and whatnot. So this just might be a time where a lot of pleasure is just found in that area of your life. But to maximize this routine, Libra, keep up with your sleep cycles. Make sure you're getting plenty of rest. Make sure you are going to sleep around a good time. Pay attention to your dreams. Keep a dream journal or something like that. That could definitely bring some sort of wellness into your life as well. But keep an eye on your sleep cycle. Make sure you don't be drinking too much throughout this transit as well. I definitely see y'all like going out and like partying, like unexpected events being hosted, going here, going there, being invited out, people wanting you here, and a lot of that. So a lot of you might just be getting tangled up in like events and spending time with other people, and like this might be disrupting your routine. So this might be where like a sore spot for you. So keep an eye on that. Find balance. For you, we get the 4 of Wands. Definitely. It makes me think of like house parties and celebration, marriage, or maybe going to a wedding, going somewhere else like that. Maybe you're going to like a baby shower, or maybe some of you are hosting events. But the 4 of Wands definitely makes me think like a wish will be granted, or makes me think of like a home situation, and just finding a lot of pleasure and a lot of peace in some aspect of your life. And for you, this might be related to like your work and your routine. Like a lot of you will probably just find like a really nice balance in your day-to-day life throughout this transit. And I think that this will be something that makes way for a lot more fun and a lot more pleasure and a lot more happiness. So you deserve it, Libra. I think a lot of you have been going through a lot in these past few months, and I think that a lot of you will establish some sort of independence and will allow you to enjoy yourself more and express yourself more. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Libra. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. Love you. Okay, so now we're at Scorpio rising. So hello, Scorpio. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for Venus in Pisces. Venus will be in Pisces from February 10th up until March 6th. And I gotta say, I think you'll have a really fun time with this transit. I was telling Virgo that they might have one of the best ones, but I was like, girl, I think Scorpio is gonna have a really good Venus in Pisces. Venus is so happy in the 5th house, which is the house that she's moving through. And Venus loves to be in Pisces. Like, this is just so the vibe. Venus rules your 7th house and your 12th house. So I kind of see it as a double-edged sword, because I feel like this kind of makes me think of like being happy, letting go. It makes me think of like being happy, moving away from things, because I think that a lot of Scorpios have been doing a lot of healing and a lot of inner work, you know, and nurturing themselves more and finding more abstract ways to philosophize differently when it comes to their beliefs on mothering yourself, you know, like Jupiter in the ninth. So it's like expanding upon your values that your mother has taught you in terms of like self-regulation, taking care of yourself, and self-love. And this is definitely transferring into your interpersonal relationships. And I just think that Venus in the fifth house overall will be a time where a lot of you are just having more fun, enjoying yourself. Just be careful about having too much fun, because Pisces sometimes takes things a little bit too far. You know, it can get lost in a dream, you know, so like be wary of like escapism, or like, you know, like, so it makes me think of like hookups, partying, you know, doing substances. All of these things will not be very conducive to having a good time with Venus and Pisces. Maybe for now it'll be, but those habits will stick and they will not bring you the same joy that they will bring you in Venus and Pisces. So find more productive ways to enjoy yourself if those are things that you have been doing. But I definitely think that for a lot of you, this could be a time where you are, I wouldn't say getting into a serious relationship, but it might be a time where a lot of you are sorting out interpersonal relationships, especially if you have been tangled up in drama with like people liking you know, like marriages, you know, like dating and like meeting people casually. Like if this has been something that's been going on, this will probably be sorted out. I also, this could be something about like people with ulterior motives, or people who are kind of like around you and you're kind of like, oh, hi. And like you just get a vibe from them. They're like, hi. And you're kind of like, why do I feel like you are in love with me? And then one day they're like, I have something to tell you. And you're like, so this could be something that a lot of you are dealing with throughout this transit, especially with like long distance matters, or with people who you usually, they just like might be from like a different background or like different type, because Jupiter is in Cancer in your ninth house, you know, foreign land, foreign people, and trining Venus in your fifth house. And this will happen around the 22nd. So it might just be a time where you're kind of like having like unexpected surprises of people, like, you know, like traveling and then meeting people whom you usually wouldn't get with, and yada yada yada. So this could also be a time where a lot of you are finding great pleasure in taking classes. Like this makes me think like maybe like some of you are taking cake decorating classes, or just something, you know, innocuous like that, where you're just finding pleasure in learning new things and getting busy. But the fifth house also makes me think of children. So this definitely could be a time where a lot of you are trying for a child, or this could be a time where children are in some way, shape, or form at the forefront of your mind. Whether it be you're having kids, or whether it just be that you are bringing out your own inner child. And maybe this could be at the hands of the people who are around you and bringing you good fortune. So definitely a good time to get into hobbies, experimenting with this. So it's like drawing, sketching, painting, you know, like watching movies, watching your favorite TV show. And Pisces is like with the occult, it's like, you know, very dreamy. So definitely like music as well. Like a lot of you just might be feeling very inspired throughout this transit. So a lot of you could just be like testing yourself in terms of like your skills and your talents. And this is like a really good time to do something like that. The fifth house is just like about things that you find joyful, and Pisces is about the collective. So it might be that a lot of you are getting more in tune with the people around you, the community that you are around, or maybe some of you are getting in touch with something that is way bigger than you and deciding to be a part of something, or deciding to just stray off and be more to yourself. And I also want to say that because we will see multiple squares to Uranus throughout this transit. And this is important because Uranus is in Taurus, which is a Venus ruled sign, and this is in your seventh house. And this will be as planets are leaving your fourth house. And I gotta say, Scorpio, I definitely think that a lot of you could be dealing with like a blast from the past, because Mercury will also be retrograding in this house, in your fifth house. And, you know, like this will be around like the 26th, and then Venus and Mercury will come into conjunction on the 28th. So it's like, y'all better make sure that all them exes are blocked. Y'all better make sure that like those situations are kept out unless you want them coming back. Like, and because it's Pisces, it might just be like very random, especially because Venus and Mercury will both have to cross over the North Node and oppose the South Node. So it's like low-key out of your control. And so you might just have like a lot of fleeting moments where you're either getting back into something that you just haven't seen in a while. So like it makes me think of like, oh, like you used to be like, I keep bringing up like sketching because I like sketching. So it's like you used to be an artist, and then you find an old sketchbook and you're like, oh, So a lot of that could be happening, but it could also be that like you run into like an old situationship or something that you haven't seen in like years. So there's definitely like a taste of the past or some kind of nostalgia or like fate in this transit. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Not to like make you delusional if you are trying to get into a relationship, but I am definitely saying that because Venus rules your 12th house, there is some sort of like Venus brings endings in your chart. Venus likes to end things, and Venus likes to send you signals through people, and she likes to communicate with you through your relationships, and she likes to signal with you when it's time to let something go. And I definitely think that moving through the 5th house, this will be a time where endings are embraced in order to make way for more fun, more enjoyment, more pleasure in your life, and finding more joy and just being. You know, Pisces is not so concerned with like form and like labels and structure. It just likes to be. And I think that that is something that you'll be embracing with the people around you, and it will bring you a lot of pleasure and a lot of enjoyment. Like that is really the best way to say it. And I also think that we're going to see a Mars square Uranus around the 27th. So I want you to keep an eye out for that, because I think that that will be very conducive to Saturn and Aries. And I think that this will definitely be like tangling up like a work situation. So it's like if y'all have been going through some sort of work drama, or if y'all been dealing with like messy relationships at work, you going to see that again around the end of this month. So keep an eye out for that. And also just take care of your health, Scorpio. Make sure you move, make sure you purge, do detoxes and whatnot. Cards for Scorpio. Oh wow, just one fell out. For you, we have the 7 of Swords. Definitely makes me think that there is ulterior motives. Y'all remember when I was like talking my smack, being like, oh, like there might be people around you like acting one way but wanting something else from you, and you're already like, girl, I know, like I just know you're like face palming right now. So it's like definitely keep an eye out this transit, Scorpio, because you might be realizing that people are coming towards you, and this doesn't have to be like a bad thing, like this doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, like what do they want from me. It could be like, oh my god, like what do they want from me. So definitely just keep an eye out and trust your gut, because you're going to be realizing that people are sneaky. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Scorpio. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. So now we're at Capricorn rising. So hello, Capricorn. If you're seeing this, this will be a horoscope for Venus in Pisces. Venus will be in Pisces from February 10th up until March 6th. And for you, Venus will be moving through the 3rd house, which is like a really fun house if you ask me. I think that this will be like a refresh for you. I think that a lot of Cap risings maybe have been feeling a little bit bored or a little bit kind of like restless, or maybe there's just kind of like a tendency to feel a little bit too uptight in your day-to-day routine at the moment. And I think that Venus and Pisces will help you loosen up, but honestly, take care to not loosen up too much, because I noticed that whenever there's major Pisces energy in the skies, a lot of Cap risings start to like run late for work, sleep through alarms, or, like drive through heavy fog, like it just might be like, those days where you just so happen to be running late for work, and then the weirdest things happen on the way to work. Like, that is the type of stuff that I imagine Venus and Pisces will be bringing for y'all, where like if you don't stay on top of your schedule, there will be a lot of interesting things that happen that prevent you from getting things done on time. So not to say that Venus and Pisces will just be like this huge inconvenience for you or anything like that, but I do get the sense that for a lot of you, this will just be an opportunity for you to let go a little bit and be a little bit less uptight. And Venus for you rules your 5th house as well as your 10th house. So definitely there could be some kind of exposure of like your career and your status, especially as it relates to like social media. So a lot of Cap risings might be feeling inclined to create more, write more, and somehow integrate this into their, status and reputation. And it might not even be that this is directly related to your career. Like this could just be like an Instagram rebranding, coming up with a cute new bio and profile picture. And maybe a lot of you could also be rearranging something about your interpersonal connections when it comes to social media and how you relate to others. And because the Venus rules your 5th house as well, it also makes me think that this is a nice time where a lot of you could be like driving around, trying new spots in town, exploring. So Pisces just likes to get lost sometimes. So a lot of you might be going to a side of town that you've just never been, going out to cute restaurants, going here, going there. And especially because throughout this transit, we will also see multiple planets coming out of Aquarius. And as they do, they will square Uranus and Taurus is a Venus ruled sign. So a lot of you could be having a lot of mix-ups or like sudden changes when it comes to like dating, you know, creativity, and maybe there's even something going on with like children as well. So a lot of you could be like working with kids or something of that nature. And I also want to say that this might be a time where a lot of you might be writing. I just noticed that I've been realizing lately that Capricorn placements are like really into like poetry, self-expression, and a lot of you are very aloof when it comes to your mind. Like you're an earthy, pragmatic person and you move with logic, but deep down you like think emotionally. It's interesting. I don't know. I'll never understand y'all. And so I definitely think that this will be tied to Venus and Pisces for a lot of you. And especially because Mercury will also be going into retrograde in this house starting on the 26th. And then Venus and Mercury will actually meet up together into a conjunction on the 28th. So leaves me to believe that a lot of you maybe could be going through something of like a work mix-up or like changes of like technology at work, and maybe something about systems, maybe something about services that you offer. Maybe a lot of you are also going to the doctor, or maybe this could also be a time where applications are going through. So definitely if you have applied to jobs in the past few months or like past few weeks, or like there has been grants and stuff put in, this might be a transit where you are seeing those things kind of get through to you. And when I say grants, I mean like maybe like you apply to like money or something of that nature. Mercury also does have rulership over your 9th house, so maybe this could be about like traveling. So maybe some of you are trying to travel or go somewhere that you've never been, and maybe with the 6th house ruler being retrograde in the 3rd house, this could be a lot of you trying to look for somebody to house sit, dog sit, or just, you know, like organizing things online. So definitely could be a time where a lot of you are going through like mix-ups of like technology and whatnot. And I would definitely keep an eye out on your technology, because throughout this transit you might be realizing that there is a lot of issues with like scheduling appointments, you know, like mixing those things up. But this could also be like, you know, like maybe a phone needs to be replaced, or maybe something, you know, like be careful like putting your coffee next to your tablet or laptop, you might spill it and whatnot. So things like that could be happening as well. And the 6th house ruler, it also makes me think of like pets. So maybe some of you are adopting animals, or maybe there is just like something going on with an animal and you're having to take them to the vet and whatnot. But this could also be about your health as well, especially when it comes to like fluid and like maybe about something like your feet, because Pisces rules the feet. But this could also be something about like, great time to get a pedicure, by the way. If I was a Cap rising, I would so get a pedicure under this transit, girl. But I also get the sense that this could be something about your siblings. Venus does rule, or like the 3rd house does deal with siblings. So like if you do have like sisters especially, or like maybe there's like an emphasis on like aunts and grandmas, this could be a time where a lot of you are going back and forth with family members like that. And because the 6th house ruler is retrograde here as well, like maybe you're having to like go back and forth of like providing a service for a family member or assisting a family member in some way, shape, or form. The nice thing about this is that Venus will come into a trine of Jupiter around the 22nd. So maybe this could be a time where a lot of you could be meeting people on like dating apps and going to like local bars or like parties and events and whatnot. So definitely a lot of Cap risings, y'all could be like going on dates and stuff, or like meeting people, or, you know, Pisces is like very daydreamy. So maybe some of you are rekindling with people, or maybe some of you are meeting up with people whom you haven't seen in a very long time. And mind you, around the 27th, we will also see Mars square Uranus. So maybe there's something getting in the way, maybe like your home life or like your family or something like that. So I definitely think that this transit, the later days of it, or like towards the tail end of it, a lot of you might be having to juggle something about your dating life and your self-expression and, you know, time that you set aside to create as it relates to your home and your family and your responsibilities, especially because Saturn will be moving into your 4th house as well. So there will be a lot of energy that will be exerted when it comes to your family and your home. And I think that Venus in the 3rd house, this will somehow be related to where maybe a lot of you are having to take care of like another family member or sibling or relative, as Saturn is restricting you in your 4th house. So it's like maybe this is the restriction, you know, you're kind of like, man, I want to go out and have fun and live my life, but I'm having to stay home and take care of my aunt, you know? And let's pull a card for you. Yeah, for you, we have the Two of Coins. Definitely gives me the vibe of like having to take care and like move back and forth, go to this, go to that, take care of this, take care of that. You know, it makes me think like very busy energy. When I say back and forth, it literally means like back and forth, like going to the store, going back home, and then someone's like, can you get this for me? And then you have to go back to the store and then come back home, going to work, and maybe you're working 2 jobs or something like that. You know, it's just like a lot of stuff going on where you're having to juggle a lot of things going on, and it is probably related to your money and your resources and having to sort of maintain different aspects of your life. But I also think that it'll just be a nice time where you're feeling busy and feeling very productive, but just take care to make sure to get plenty of sleep and make sure to get plenty of rest and some alone time. Otherwise you might be feeling like very overwhelmed. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Capricorn. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. So now we're at Aquarius rising. So hello, Aquarius rising. I might be like, because I just ate ice cream and it was really good. Anyways, hello, Aquarius. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for Venus in Pisces. Venus will be in Pisces from February 10th up until March 6th. And for you, this will be your second house. Me as a Taurus, excuse me, by the way, me as a Taurus moon, I'm real jealous of this because Venus likes being in the second house and Venus loves to be in Pisces. So honestly, can I just be so real? This might be a time where a lot of you might be emotionally spending money, or it might be that your emotions are heightened when it comes to, you know, like material things and your values. So it makes me think of a bunch of different things, but the first thing that pops up to mind is like valuing feelings, valuing emotions, and you might be extending this to the people around you. You know, Venus rules your 4th house as well as your 9th house. So there could definitely be something going on here when it comes to like emotional attachments to your philosophies, your beliefs, your outlook on life, and maybe even something about your home, your family values. And the 4th house ruler moving through the 2nd house, a lot of you could just be investing into your home and like your living situation in some way. So it's like a lot of you could be literally remodeling your home, you know, like Pisces makes me think of like the bedroom and like the bathroom, or like so places like that. So a lot of you could be reforming areas of the house like that. But it could also just be that a lot of you are trying to find more comfort and a lot more value in your living situation and your family. And the other side of the coin is that Venus in the 2nd house in Pisces, and you can just ask the Leo risings, a lot of you could be emotionally spending at this point. And I definitely think that maybe Saturn in Pisces could definitely be something like that as well. But if you feel like you haven't really been able to find pleasure or, you know, like enjoy yourself when it comes to money and material things, or this has just been an aspect of your life that maybe you have faced a lot of restriction, I definitely get the vibe that Venus and Pisces will bring a lot of the spark back into your life. But you'll notice that it's in a different, a little bit more of a healthy way, especially because Venus will also come into a trine with Jupiter, who is in your... Is it your 6th house? Don't tell me, don't tell me. Yeah, your 6th house. So I definitely think that because Venus will be trining your 6th house rule, or like Jupiter in your 6th house slash your... I'm just like all over the place right now. I can't think. Your 11th house ruler, more opportunities by enjoying things that you like, things that bring you healthy pleasures. And I get the vibe that a lot of you could be investing money in your wellness approach. So it's like, it gives me the vibe like, oh, like, let me buy this yoga mat so I can, you know, like start doing yoga. But it could also be like, oh, like, let me start investing money into better food. Let me invest money into better things. It's like, Venus in the 2nd house wants to splurge, it wants to invest, and in Pisces, it feels emotionally called to, like, it does so in an intuitive and emotional way. So it's like, if you have this is just like an example, if you have like the choice between 2 duvets, there's one that's more expensive and there's one that's cheaper, but you're not going to pick one based on the price and the quality. You're going to pick the one that best suits you and the one that feels most comfortable to you. And if that just so happens to be the expensive one, like, you're not afraid to spend that money in order to, you know, get to that state of wellness and emotional security. So it's very much that, you know. And low-key, like Venus and Pisces in the second house gives me like spiritual awakening. So a lot of you could have some very intense emotional revelations throughout this transit, and they could be related to your day-to-day life, and this might cause you to philosophize differently, especially when it comes to the people that you're around. So a lot of you could be doing some shedding when it comes to your social circles and your friend groups, or it could be like expansion. I don't think it'll be like shedding of any kind, but I get the sense that a lot of you are shedding some sort of skin and meeting up with people like in different ways and relating to them in different ways, and it is through your health and through your wellness. And I also think that this is like a very good time to book a service or like to like consult someone, especially if you are trying to like get, you know, like get something out of like an investment. Like it makes me think like this is like a great time to hire like a contractor to bring up the property value of your home, and you know, so that you can sell it for a higher price or something like that. Or if you're just wanting to get like mani-pedis and whatnot, really nice time to do that as well. And this might be an opportunity for you all to make friends as well, or to meet people and expand your horizons. I also think that this is like a very good time to like, if you do own like a business or if you do work and you offer a service of some sort, this will be a very nice time to up your rates. Or you might be having to up your rates because maybe you have like a lot of clients or something like that. But I also want to say that we will see a lot of squares to Uranus, and Uranus is your modern day ruler, and Uranus is in your 4th house of Taurus, which is also ruled by Venus. So I definitely think that throughout this transit, as planets are leaving your 1st house and moving into your 2nd house, a lot of you might be changing up your home situation very dramatically, or your home might be a source of your life that is a lot of change, and this might be somehow tied to your financial situation, and maybe something about your relatives as well, where you're moving around money and maybe you are refinancing things, and because of that it is changing up your living situation. And a lot of you might be finding creative, new, innovative ways to save on money, use technology more in your home to make life a little bit more convenient, a little bit more advanced, and a lot more comfortable as well, especially if you feel like you're having to maintain multiple different aspects of your life and it's starting to become like very exhausting, and like Virgo ruling your 8th house, and Mercury's about to retrograde in your 2nd house too. So it's like, once again, like definitely get the vibe that a lot of you are moving around money in some way, shape, or form, and you're doing so in creative new ways. But I definitely get the vibe that a lot of you could just be feeling like you're managing a lot of different things, and you're kind of like, oh, like let me hire someone, or like let me get like some sort of like piece of technology that will make it to where like it will do itself, so I don't have to like constantly do all these petty little chores and tasks, you know, every single day. And Mercury also rules your 5th house, so this could also be related to children as well. But I also think that it could be related to your inner child. And overall, Aquarius, I just get the vibe that this might be a time where you're getting in tune with something that you're very emotionally attached to, attuned to, in order to cultivate more pleasure and more enjoyment in your life, and to see things from a different perspective. A lot of you could be investing money into travel as well, or just learning in some way, shape, or form. It makes me think of like reading like autobiographies, or like biographies, memoirs, or just like tapping into what other people have gone through and their experiences. Like it so gives like getting on Reddit or something. I just think that a lot of you might be making an effort to connect with the collective a lot more, in order to gain something from other people's experiences, or perhaps through your own experiences you're gaining some sort of insight and you're relaying that and teaching that to other people, maybe your own children. And it doesn't even have to be your kids. It could be like your nieces or your nephews. Yeah, for you, we have the Page of Swords. Definitely a very curious energy. A lot of you could just be inquiring a lot. I think that Venus and Pisces in the 2nd house is like a very inquisitive energy, and especially with Mercury and Venus coming into a conjunction, and you know, like with Saturn moving into your 3rd house as well, the movement of information and how you're able to carry out your will and your experience and your vibes, your persona, they will all be kind of related to your mind. Especially with Venus ruling your 9th house. Like, I just get the vibe. You know what? This is the best way to say it. I get the vibe that a lot of you Aquarius risings will suddenly start to wonder about new horizons and about expanding your life in some way, shape, or form. And it will begin as this like nagging curiosity, and like it will be very intuitive. It will be kind of like you feel it very viscerally. And I encourage a lot of you to follow that urge, because I think that it will break down some walls for you and open you up to new experiences that will make you feel more confident in yourself, your spirituality, and your sense of belief and faith. that's all I have for you, Aquarius. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. Okay, last but not least, we have Pisces rising. So hello, Pisces rising. If you're seeing this, this will be a horoscope for Venus in Pisces, and Venus will be in Pisces from February 10th until March 6th. I don't know what this transit will bring for you. Actually, no, like, I was gonna say take a shot every time I say Pisces because I get the vibe that I'm gonna be saying that word a lot. Anyways, so for you, Venus is going to be moving through your first house, and girl, Venus moving through an exaltation in the first house is so legit. It's giving glow up. It's giving like getting your services done, like facials. It's giving like getting your hair done, blowouts. It's giving like fire AF haircut. It's giving like like looking your best. And for you, Venus rules your 8th house, so it's like it's giving like seduction. And Venus also rules your 3rd house. So I definitely get the vibe that when the 3rd house ruler moves to the 1st house, especially Venus, it definitely makes people more drawn to your voice. This could be a time where a lot of you are singing. This could be a time where you're reading and, absorbing information, and that makes you attractive. And I think that people will definitely be very allured by you. And some people might even be very enamored by you, by the way that you think, by the way that you articulate yourself. And there will just be times where people are just very drawn to your voice and the speaking. And also, people might be very invasive with you. I say this because the 8th house rule in the 1st house definitely makes me think like rebirth vibes. So it might be that a lot of people are like, you have intense experiences with them, and even like not with other people. It could just be with like situations itself, like a lot of you might go through a lot of shifts and transformations, and Pisces is about like spirituality, it's about faith, emotions, mental health. So a lot of you could be going through a lot of changes in this regard of your life. And especially with Saturn moving out of your 1st house and moving into your 2nd house on the 14th, it definitely gives this incentive that a lot of you are going to put yourself in more experiences and situations where you're forced to be more independent, or where you're forced to be a little bit more like quick thinker and more reactive, and act on your own impulses, as opposed to kind of like waiting an hour, feeling things through, or being a little bit more intuitive. Like a lot of you might just be like, what, I got a vibe, I'm just gonna act on it. I'm not gonna try to feel it out. It's just time to do something about it, and maybe as the Pisces rising, it will be a little bit like unfathomable, but I think that a lot of Pisces placements period are starting to realize this about themselves, where a lot of you are wanting to take more government or a lot more initiative in your life. Government, is that the right word? Like you want to govern your life a little bit more and feel like you have control over it. And especially with the Mercury retrograde that's going to be happening at the same time, starting on the 26th. Mercury is your 7th house ruler, as well as your 4th house ruler. So it's like establishing independence or wanting to be more yourself, away from your family, away from your home, away from your romantic relationships, your marriage, your partnerships. There is just the sense that a lot of you will be establishing a lot more autonomy in your life, and it will be related to finances, first of all, but it could also be related to something about your relatives and your family as well. And I think that the 3rd house ruler in the 1st house definitely makes me think that a lot of you could be going, like interacting more with your siblings and your relatives, like aunts, uncles, grandmothers, and whatnot. But overall, I just think that Venus moving through your 1st house, like this is just like a very great time to experiment with your style, expressing your creativity directly on your appearance, if like your fashion, maybe if you do makeup, that as well, and whatnot. And I also think that the 8th house rule in the 1st house, like this ain't none of my business, but like if y'all are getting down and dirty, just make sure you're like wearing the glove, because this might be a time where a lot of you are feeling like, especially, like active, or like your libido might be going up. But this could also be about your hormones. This could be something about like fluctuating. Make sure you drink plenty of water and you get plenty of sleep throughout this transit, Pisces. That will be the key to beauty, getting your beauty sleep and making sure that you're getting a lot of fluids and you're doing a lot of flushing outs. And I also want to mention that we will see a lot of squares to Uranus, and currently at the moment Uranus is in your 3rd house, and this is important because it's in Taurus and that's a Venus ruled sign, especially around the 16th and the 27th when the Sun and Mars respectively square Uranus. And so definitely a lot of shifts and changes when it comes to like communication, unexpected news, social media, driving, moving around. Definitely be careful with that as well, Pisces, because I think that a lot of you might just be like moving around a lot in your day-to-day lifestyle, and a lot of unexpected communication as well. So definitely stay on your toes, because a lot of you might just be realizing that like your schedule is fluctuating a lot. And what is your 6th house ruled by? Especially with the 16th, because the Sun rules your 6th house, so there could definitely be something going on around that time when it comes to your work situation, and a lot of you might be like randomly quitting or getting a job and whatnot. And I also want to say that Jupiter will come into a trine, or Venus will come into a trine with Jupiter around the 22nd. So just like a very, very pretty energy. I get the vibe that a lot of you could be spending like cozy time at home, or a lot of you could be like revising your day-to-day schedule in order to make more time for like pleasure at home or something like that. And I also think that this could be something about like, oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. I'm so tired right now. But I also get the vibe that this could be a time where a lot of you are finding pleasure. Because I'm saying that's because in my brain, I'm like, oh, like Jupiter's in your 5th house. Like the 5th house is about like what you care about, what you find pleasure in, what you think is fun. And Cancer is more like cozy activities or doing things that are, you know, like things that you're emotionally attached to. And then Jupiter also has ties with like your 10th house. So somehow incorporating that into your status and your career. So it makes me think that with like your 8th house ruling the 1st house, trining the 10th house ruling the 5th house, going through transformations of like your self-expression and how this relates to your career, wanting to put yourself out there more, wanting to launch your own brand, wanting to be an influencer, wanting to, you know, be perceived more, or wanting to, you know, be known more by your peers and your colleagues, by what you care about and what you love and what matters to you. And, you know, with Saturn moving into your 2nd house, being more realistic about it and learning to communicate it more, learning to be more independent, you know, so like spending the necessary money and putting yourself in the necessary experiences and learning the right things in order to make sure that you are in the best possible spot to succeed and achieve your dreams, essentially. But this could also be that some of you might be dealing with like a restrictive parent, or like you might be dealing with like an overly preachy parent, or maybe some of you are even adopting your parents' values and philosophies in some way, but also maybe wanting to establish even more autonomy outside of that. So it's like, essentially, Pisces, I get the vibe that this is the transit where a lot of you are finding a lot of beauty and a lot of aesthetic and thinking for yourself. Yeah, for you, yeah, the 9 of Coins, girl, let me tell you, this card is so like feeling on, like buying new clothes, finding your style, just getting your stuff done, spending money on the things that you want to do and finding pleasure in that. Like that is just like the best way to say it. Like this card is about feeling good about yourself, feeling good in your skin and feeling beautiful. And it could be that a lot of people are also spoiling you as well. So people might be coming up to you, paying you, giving you checks and buying you things and just being very generous of you. Anyways, Pisces, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated. It is time for me to go to bed. Thank you so much for watching. I love you. Bye.